Hello, hello. It is the one and only 5D Transformations. And I'm excited. We are going to touch on some powerful information regarding MBTI and compatibility. This is something that I've been looking forward to getting to. I've delved in, did a lot of different pairings, a lot of research, just figuring out what is the component that makes for the best matches. So what my goal is I'm going to tell you for each type the number one most compatible type that I think based on some of the math and science I've been doing. I'll also provide a second type that would be good for you, and then I'll provide the third type. And it's actually for the third one is going to be a group of different types that can be compatible as well, so that you can look at basically your first, second, and then some additional options. All right. So just keep that in mind. All right. So we are going to start off with the ENFPs. All right. So ENFPs compatibility. Let's talk about it. So what I do is I have this thing here as well. So that way you can kind of see how I'm judging the metrics. Okay. So let me pull out some of my notes here. And so there was some factors that I wanted to utilize um, in order to come up with what's the best type. And we can start with the ENFPs. So if we start with the ENFPs, as you can see, these are the ENFPs right here. And so the type that pairs with them the best is going to be INTJs. And you can see the INTJs here. Okay. And INTJs and ENFPs, they work very well together. And the question is, well, why? Well, what I think is very important for the most compatible type for each type is number one, I think extroverts and introverts pair very well together. Now, I think two extroverts can go well, two introverts can go well, but for the ideal pairing, I wanted to have a balance, and that's what you'll notice with all of these pairings. There's a balance to them, a unique balance. So with ENFPs and INTJs, that extroverted introverted thing pairs very well. The second factor that's very important as a prerequisite is they share a similar communication pattern, so or communication function. So as you can see, the ENFP here, he has introverted feeling. Oh, I'm sorry. He has introverted feeling and he has extroverted thinking. If you see this with the ENFP here. And then if you go to the INTJ, what you'll find is they have extroverted thinking and introverted feeling. So what's beautiful about this, in a lot of cases, obviously for there to be an introverted extroverted connection, they both, I don't, the person isn't going to have introverted feelings second and the other person has it second, because that means they both be extroverts. Because in order for your introverted feeling to be second, you have to have an extroverted function first. So my whole point in saying that is what's beautiful about this is they don't have to be in the same order as long as they have it in that middle area. Because what you'll find is your second and third function, you tend to be pretty good at those two functions. And what's good about this pairing is that ENFP, since they have introverted feelings second, they're a little better, so they can help INTJs tap into that introverted feeling a little more. Because for INTJs, it's their third function, but here for ENFPs, it's their second. But at the same time, where ENFP may struggle with extroverted thinking, the INTJ can help them with extroverted thinking. So they can improve from a communication level. Also on a communication level, one's extroverted, one's introverted. So, one isn't going to be too pushy. Like if the extra ENFP's talking a lot or sharing a lot of ideas, the INTJ has the capacity and actually is going to be receptive and like that they do that, because they're like, I don't feel like having to explain all of this. You can do it for me. And then the ENFP is like, great, I want somebody to listen to these ideas and then delve deeper into them. And that's what the INTJ can do. So that's the second thing. Now, here is the X factor. The third one is they have a different perception function. So what I mean by that is your perception function is your intuition sensing functions, because this is how you perceive everything. Before you make a judgment with your feeling or thinking, whether you feel good or think good about it, you got to see it first. So ENFPs have that extroverted intuition. They're always projected into the future, right? And they have introverted sensing. So they're projecting in the future, then they're going in the past. So they live in a very past future experience. Whereas the INTJ is more so introverted intuition, extroverted sensing. And with extroverted sensing, it's a very present function. But with introverted intuition, it's a function that's always moving one step ahead. It's always thinking, what's the best next step? What are we going to do next? What is the best thing to do next? So they have different perception functions, but that's where they can help each other as well. Because the ENFP, with his extroverted intuition, can help the INTJ see beyond just what's the next best step. They can help them see the bigger picture. And that's what INTJs tend to love about ENFPs is that ability to see the bigger picture. And they can learn about that other side of intuition. And the INTJ also, though, can help the ENFP become more practical and focus more on what do I do now? What can I do next in order to have something play out in the future that the ENFP may desire. So the INTJ can help with planning the immediate steps, helping us focus on the present moment with extroverted sensing. And that's really how they benefit one another in this regard. So ENFPs and INTJs, they tend to go very well together when it comes to, um, you know, pairing up in a relationship. And it's primarily because it's the communication, being able to focus on, they both focus on the future, but provide different aspects of it. And they also have a very good balance of extroverted and introverted energy. Now, the second best option, um, quote unquote, all these options can be amazing, right? But this is just from an MBTI perspective, the best pairings that I'm just giving some perspective on. This isn't solidified or anything like that, but this is just, I'm giving you all my science behind it. So the second one for the ENFP is going to be INTP. And the reason why is because number one, it still has that introverted, extroverted relationship dynamic. So there's a lot of balance there. Number two, they share a perception function now. So that's what's different for the second pairing. So what you'll notice is with the ENFP and the INTP here, one is introverted, one's extroverted, obviously, but they can look very different. But what you'll find is they both have that extroverted intuition, right? And introverted sensing. So they can relate there. The ENFP can, will have a very similar language with the INTP when it comes to ideas. And the INTP will be very receptive to ideas because of, they have any as well. Also, they both have introverted sensing. So they have that relationship of being able to, they like to talk about the future and talk about possibilities. You know what I mean? And so the INTP can really be attracted to the ENFP's strong, confident, extroverted intuition. And at the same time, the INTP can provide a little bit more grounded energy when it comes to that introverted sensing, because the ENFP has it last, they have it third. So INTP can kind of help the ENFP in that regard. But what's unique is they also have something different. And that kind of goes back to the old saying, opposites attract. I don't think opposites attract, but I think people who have, opposite perspectives in certain areas, that can be very attractive, meaning you want to relate to your partner, but there's also going to be little unique things that are different that can magnify the attraction. And that's what we find here. That's why I think it's important. With the INTJ, they still have something a little bit different. They have that, you know, introverted intuition, extroverted sensing. So the ENFP can still, admire a different aspect of them. And then with the INTP, the same thing is kind of there. They have introverted thinking, and the ENFP has introverted feeling. So the ENFP can help the INTP lighten up, and the INTP can help the ENFP be more logical and do more analysis about certain decisions. And same thing, the INTP, a lot of the time, INTPs are very much focused on family and giving and having to serve duty. And a lot of the time, they can really be attracted to how the ENFP is very free and focuses on doing what they feel is authentic. And the same thing can occur. The ENFP can find themselves being so tapped into their feeling. They want to be more logical and decisive. And that's where they can learn from the INTP and being direct, communicating directly, things like that. So that's the second one. And then for the third one, just to share some different options for the ENFP beyond those two, I think INFPs and ENFPs can go very well together. Okay. Where's the INFPs? Right next to them. And as you can see, it's simple. They share all the same functions. And that's what I have for the third types that are going to go well. It's just types that share similar functions to you, because if you all have similar communication styles, you all can understand each other better. And when we talk about relationships, it's all about um, compatibility and understand in the area of communication. You have to speak a similar language to some capacity, because if you have two types that are completely opposite, like let's say you have an ENFP, and then let's say you have a let's say INFJ, right? Because a lot of people like to pair these two together, but and this is something I wanted to bring up. They always say INFJs are a good pairing for the ENFP, but I'm here to kind of challenge that, because even though in theory they might seem like they go well together, they have completely different functions completely. So even though they can be compatible from a friendship perspective, or they can have a lot of attraction with one another, for a long-term compatibility, there's going to be a lot of hiccups here because they speak such a different language. The INFJ is going to want feeling and to be able to express themselves freely, and the ENFP is going to be holding their feelings in. The INFJ is going to be focused on the present moment and what's next, and then the ENFP is going to be focused more so in the future beyond that, right? And so unless they can really come to an understanding, there can be some trouble here in terms of communication, because everything is so different. You don't want everything to be different. You want to have maybe half be similar, half be different. But I can see a lot of trouble here. Like I said, when it comes to attraction, it can be very high when they are very different, because it's kind of like that opposite. It's unique. But when we're talking about years and years with somebody, that's where it can be challenging. And that's why these types tend to work very well as friends, or things in that capacity. They can be in a relationship, but they're going to have to really work on communication and understanding each other, because it's all about both parties meeting each other in the middle. So that right there is my video for the ENFPs. I appreciate you all for listening, and I'm coming back at you with the next video, man, where we talk about the INTJs. And it's very similar here, so but it's a little bit different in terms of the second best options and third best options for the INTJ. But I'm not done yet. My apologies, y'all. So I have a couple more types here. So sorry, let me get this together. So this there's a couple more types that are good for the ENFP. And so, so the next one I'm gonna say for them is ENFPs as well. Simple. ENFPs and ENFPs can go well together because they share all the same functions. Now, a lot of the time you can be so similar, it can kind of feel too familiar. And that's some trouble I can run into when we're talking about relationships. But from a friendship level, and even in a relationship, it could work well because there's a familiar energy there and there's a lot of understanding. But there's also the potential of both parties not pushing each other to move beyond their comfort zone. So that's something to be aware of. And then also for ENFPs, I got ISFP. And what I like about the ISFP connection is that they share that FI and TE. They share that FI, TE, and here they share that FI, TE. But they get a little variance. That extroverted sensing, introverted intuition is different. So the ENFP can help the ISFP long-term plan, see the bigger picture, and they're going to have a very similar communication. So they can explain stuff to one another in ways that they can understand. But the ISFP can help the ENFP be more present, take it one day at a time. And I noticed these two can go very well together. And they also have that extroverted, introverted vibe going on. And then last, I think ESFJs can work well with ENFPs, mainly because of the NE-SI component. Because if you look at ESFJs, where are you guys at? ESFJ. There we go. They both have that too, SI-NE. So, they can have really good conversation. ESFJs can help bring ENFPs to that, to being, going back and being grounded and organized. And the ENFPs can help ESFJs have more different ideas, more different perspectives. They can help them relax a bit. ESFJs can be very selfless at times, which is very nice. ENFPs and ESFJs tend to be very friendly people. They want the best for people. So that pairing can go very well also. But just keep in mind they both are extroverts. And I notice these types tend to work very well as friends. On a relationship level, it's going to just require some compromise, but those two can work. So there we go. So ENFPs, that's the compatibility. And I'll go ahead and touch on some more in another video. But in the meantime, y'all look out. We're going to talk about the next type and continue these gems. So I appreciate y'all listening. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.